The bloodline is about to fracture in the most devastating way possible, and one arrival could reshape everything we think we know about Roman Reigns' grip on power. If you haven't subscribed to WWE Express yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're about to break down a scenario that could reshape the entire landscape of wrestling and send shockwaves through the entire company. For months now, we've watched Roman Reigns operate under the assumption that his control of the bloodline is absolute. He's positioned himself as the tribal chief, the undisputed leader, the man who commands respect from every family member who bears his name. But what if that control was never as solid as he believed? What if the rise of Obafemi and Jacob Fatu has created a power structure that's quietly destabilizing everything Roman has built? And what if one debut on Raw could be the spark that ignites an explosion nobody saw coming? Let's talk about Zilla Fatu and the story that's been building beneath the surface. Jacob Fatu has spent the last several weeks establishing himself as one of the most dangerous competitors on the roster. He's been operating with a purpose, with intensity, with the kind of focus that suggests he's not just another bloodline member following Roman's lead. He's been acting like someone who's building something. And Obafemi, meanwhile, has been on an absolute tear, moving through the rankings with the kind of momentum that suggests he's destined for championship-level competition sooner rather than later. These two have chemistry. These two have been positioned as the future of the faction. But here's where it gets interesting. The bloodline has always been about family, about loyalty, about that interconnected web of relationships that Roman learned from the Anoa'i legacy. Yet Roman's leadership style has increasingly become isolated, more distant, more focused on his singular championship dominance. He's treated the bloodline like an extension of his authority rather than a family unit with its own dynamics. And that's where the cracks begin to show. If Zilla Fatu debuts on Raw to join Jacob, not as another follower of Roman's will but as part of a unified front with Jacob and Oba, you're looking at the creation of a subfaction within the bloodline itself. You're looking at a challenge to Roman's authority that comes not from an outsider but from within his own family structure. The storytelling potential here is absolutely enormous because it's not about rebellion against the family. It's about redefining what the family is supposed to be. Think about the narrative layers this creates. Roman has positioned himself as the protector, the guy who brought the bloodline to unprecedented heights, the man who made them matter on the biggest stage. But if Zilla arrives and helps Jacob confront Roman, if they attack the tribal chief, you're suddenly flipping the script entirely. You're saying that maybe Roman's way isn't the only way. Maybe the new generation of Fatu sees something different in the future of this faction. Maybe they believe they can elevate the bloodline to something even greater by challenging the current structure. From a character perspective, this works beautifully for Jacob Fatu. He's been presented as a ruthless, focused competitor, but his allegiance to Roman has always seemed a bit surface level. He executes orders with precision, but there's always been an undercurrent suggesting he's capable of independent thought and action. Zilla's arrival wouldn't be Jacob suddenly turning into a rebel. It would be Jacob finally revealing what his true ambitions have been all along. He's not just another soldier in Roman's army. He's the future, and he's ready to claim his place. And Obafemi in the middle of all this? He becomes the catalyst for change. His rise has been so meteoric, so undeniable, that it forces everyone to recognize that the talent level within the bloodline is pushing beyond what Roman alone can control or represent. Oba's not attacking Roman because he has a personal vendetta. He's attacking Roman because the landscape has shifted, and a new hierarchy is asserting itself. That's compelling storytelling because it's about generational shift, about the natural evolution of a faction as new talent emerges. The attack itself, when it happens, means everything. It's not just a backstage brawl or a quick blindside. It has to carry the weight of something monumental. It has to feel like the moment where everyone watching suddenly understands that the bloodline's internal structure has completely changed. Maybe Roman's been positioned to feel invincible for so long that this attack, this coordinated effort from 3 generations of Fatu talent, actually staggers him. Maybe for the first time in a very long time, the tribal chief realizes he's not untouchable within his own circle. What this does for future storytelling is open up incredible possibilities. You could build toward a civil war within the bloodline. You could create a scenario where Roman has to reckon with the fact that his leadership has pushed away the very people who were supposed to be his closest allies. Or you could go a different direction entirely, using this moment to reorganize the faction entirely, creating a new power structure that's more collaborative, more about mutual respect and shared dominance rather than singular control. From a booking psychology standpoint, this also gives Raw a legitimate main event storyline that feels fresh and unexpected. We've seen so much Roman dominance over the years that when something challenges his authority, especially from within his own family, the entire narrative structure changes. Fans who thought they knew what to expect are suddenly invested in a completely different direction. That's the kind of storytelling shift that can revitalize an entire program. The beauty of Zilla Fatu's potential debut in this scenario is that it's not just about adding another body to a stable. It's about expanding the narrative canvas. It's about suggesting that the bloodline has become something bigger than what Roman alone can represent. It's about showcasing the depth of talent within the faction and creating a hierarchy of power that feels earned rather than inherited. And let's not forget the practical implications for the women's and men's divisions. If Zilla arrives and immediately aligns with Jacob and Oba, you're creating a block of talent that impacts multiple championship pictures. You're potentially reshaping the entire competitive landscape because now multiple feuds are affected by this shift in allegiance and power structure. That's the kind of storytelling that justifies sustained attention from your audience because the ripple effects matter. The question becomes not just whether this attack happens, but what comes after. How does Roman respond to a challenge from within his own bloodline? Does he double down on control, or does he adapt? Does he recognize that maybe his way of leadership needs to evolve to accommodate the talents rising within the faction? These are the character questions that make wrestling storytelling matter, and that's what makes this scenario so compelling. This is exactly the kind of narrative detail that WWE Express loves to analyze, and if you want to stay on top of every twist, every turn, every development in how these factions evolve, you need to subscribe to WWE Express. We're breaking down the psychology, the booking, the character arcs that make wrestling storytelling so powerful. Subscribe now, and make sure you're never missing an analysis when the biggest moments hit Raw.